Hey everybody, I want to talk today about some things I'm doing to improve my focus, and maybe some of them will help you. And I get this question all the time. How do I improve my focus? Should I be reading more books? Should I put my phone down? Whatever. I don't know necessarily what is best for you in your life, in your situation and circumstance, but I do know what's working for me, and maybe some of this will help. So first of all, a couple weeks ago, I lost my, it's actually been a few months now, 3 months, I lost my case to my AirPods. So here are my AirPods. I used to look like this all the time. You probably can recognize this. I was that guy that always had AirPods in my ears. I did that because I felt like I always needed to be learning, always had to have something sort of coming into the brain. I have this identity where I'm a self-learner, or I like to, sort of always be moving forward. And the AirPods felt like a really good tool for that. And they are. They're nice to always have something in the background so that you can learn about whatever. But here's the thing, I lost that case, which means I couldn't charge those AirPods. And that was actually really beneficial for me. I did not want to buy another case, and I definitely didn't want to buy more AirPods. They're a fortune. So they just sat in a little bowl on my desk for the past several months, and the strangest thing happened. Now, every time I would normally put on my AirPods, I didn't have that reflexive motion to stick those in, hit play, and go brain dead, right? Instead, I had to make the conscious choice to think about something. I had to be sort of particular about what I was going to think about. And I had to sort of review what I had been studying, thoughts that were important to me. And my brain sort of knocked on my mental window and said, hey, dummy, this is actually good for me. Because what happens is, if I'm always putting stuff into my brain and I'm never giving my brain a chance to actually deal with that information and process it, make new connections and so on, then there's no time to actually sort of benefit from what I'm learning and studying, right? Always in means no out, and that's a problem. And so by not having my AirPods with me and actually having to think about what I had learned while I was at my desk or while I was reading a book made those focus moments better. So for me, the first thing that I've done is actually not bought the AirPod case. I haven't used AirPods in 90 days. And I have really struggled with not going to the Apple store to buy more AirPods. I want to do that, right? This is an addiction for me. I want to have something pumping in my ear at all times, and every day I have to think, no, leave the AirPods alone, because I've really benefited from this time of quietness with myself. It's been great. I've been able to make new connections in my philosophy books that I've been reading. I've been able to think about videos that I want to make and why I care about certain topics. I've been able to sort of review in my head the French language that I've been learning and how to sort of solidify those words and phrases. So yeah, that's the first thing I'm doing, is giving my brain a chance to cool down so that when I do need to sit at my desk and I actually need to focus, my brain can turn on because it's had a chance to prepare itself or rest for when actual work matters. The second thing I've done is I always have like journals with me, right? I create little journals in my bookstore that go along with specific books that I read. I'll show you. So here's my little journal, for example, for Crime and Punishment that I make, and here's the book Crime and Punishment. I'm not talking about these kinds of journals, right? These are great if you want to do book notes on a specific work and really grow. But outside of that, I have really found a nice companion in just keeping my journal with me at all times. And I've always thought of these things in a way that has not helped me. I have seen my journals as a place to sort of capture the perfect ideas, and I've wanted my journals to somewhat be like works of art. I really can't stand it when I sort of have bad handwriting in journals, and so I don't use them very well. And then I get journal anxiety, which is that concept of like, well, if I write something important in this journal, how am I going to find it later and use it? And so then I don't actually really make the most out of these books. Well, I started going back to school. I'm getting a degree in philosophy right now. And I had this journal in my notebook, or in my little bag that I carried with me into class. And I pulled it out because it was the only thing I had, and I started taking notes. I just wrote the date at the top, started taking notes, and then I came back to my office and I did a lesson in French, and then I thought, well, I'll just keep going. So I started writing my French notes. And what I found is that I stopped treating this as a sort of perfect place to keep ideas, and instead more as like a conversational companion. That's where the switch happened for me. I turned my journal into a learning companion. So all I do now is I'll show you. Each day I write the date at the top of the page, or just wherever I'm at. I don't work too hard at it. I just put the date right here. You can probably see that, and I kind of put it in a funky little squiggly cloud so that it sticks out and it's easy to see. And then whatever thing I'm working on, I will put next to it. So this is my philosophy of religion course. So I'll just put 2 big slashes on both sides so that I know that this is a topic of focus, and then I'll just take notes. I'll think, I'll ask my journal questions, I'll scratch things out. It's a thinking tool, not a recording tool. And then at the end of the day, after I've had a chance to sort of get through whatever I worked on at work or in school or in my passion projects, I'll go back and I'll think, what of all of that stuff was actually important? And then what I'll do is I'll just highlight the bits that really matter that I want to remember. So for example, this is a French lesson that I had. And these are the key phrases that really are important to me now based on where I'm at in my study. And I can visually see quickly on this day what was really valuable. And that's been nice for me. Really, what this is coming down to is this is a growing relationship with a book. I'm not making it the most important thing in the world. I'm not treating it too serious. I'm not trying to make everything beautiful in here, the layouts, the spreads. I got rid of all of that stress and chaos. And I'm just using this thing as a learning tool. And here's the great thing. When it fills up, I'll buy a new one and I'll just keep going, right? And I think maybe when I'm done, I'll probably put some sort of like date at the beginning to say what phase of my life this particular book covers. And I'll probably write a little summary of, during this time of my life, I was studying French, I was studying philosophy of religion and so on in university. Just so that in 10 years, when I pull it off the shelf, I can flip to that front cover and know what these notes are all about. Okay, so then the third thing that has really helped me with my focus lately is New Year's recently passed, and it sounds like it died. That's not what happened. Right now it's January 17th, 18th, somewhere in there. So it's been a couple weeks since the new year where everybody set all their New Year's resolutions. And for me, I need to lose about 10 pounds. It's that like crappy belly weight, right? I'm in pretty good shape, but I want to get rid of about 10 pounds around the belly. Well, I started off like everybody else at the new year, probably trying to control my diet. And what I found was that by constricting my diet and just trying to eat less, by noon, I was completely ravenous and was just eating everything. I was eating all of the stuff, like large bags of sugar, like all my cravings were kicking into full gear, and it wasn't really working out. And then I discovered that for me, at least, again, these are just tips for me, that protein was sort of my magic ingredient. And if I got enough protein, that satiated me, like quality fat and protein, right? That would satiate me, and then I could fill up the rest of the space with vegetables. But most importantly, focus on getting enough protein in my body was not having cravings throughout the rest of the day. And I thought, how does that apply to sort of what I teach in my podcast, which is to read slowly, take notes, and apply the ideas? It's actually a weird connection here, right? By getting enough of what my body needs, it doesn't crave all of the garbage and the junk. And I have this little theory that our brains are actually pretty phenomenal machines. They are like the McLaren of cars, or I'm not a car guy, Corvettes, whatever. They're fancy, high-tech, high-end machines, and sometimes we're not putting the best gasoline or fuel in them. We're pouring like whiskey in them to see if that will make the car go. I don't know, sugar water, whatever. And because we're sort of filling our brains with junk all day, our brains are just craving something of substance. If all we do is just sort of doom scroll or spend the day, I don't know, watching TikTok videos or whatever it is, sure, that's entertaining and that is going to make the time pass easily or easier and help us avoid some maybe mental or emotional pain we might be feeling. But still we have the problem that our brain, this amazing machine up here, is craving something of substance. Like a McLaren car or a Corvette, it wants to hit the highway and go and do something that matters. And I realized that if we can give our brains something of substance, one big project that it loves, that it can work on, that it can chew on, then that's helpful. And that's where I think I come in my community. I mean, I talk about reading books that matter. And so, for example, You might want to read, these are not book recommendations right now. I don't want to give you more books to read because you probably already have enough. These are just examples, guys. But Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman is a really great book, but it is a technical book and you'll have to work on it. But the concept there is that there are different ways of sort of working through knowledge and decision making and so on. It's just a lovely book. Perhaps you decide to tackle the complete works, the full essays of Michel de Montaigne. This is just a great book. It's not a small book. This will take a while for you to work through. But this is a great example of if you sat down each night and spent some time in one of his essays and let your brain chew on them and why they're important, that would get it done. We're reading Anna Karenina right now in my book club, another great example. You could read anything of substance, right? But go out and get a book that's like going to challenge you. It's going to make you, reassess who you are, what you believe in, and where you come from, all of that stuff. Don't just read books for entertainment. That's great. I'm not knocking that. But your brain needs more than the next murder mystery. It needs more than the next rom-com. It needs more than the next beach summer read. Your brain needs a book that will make it go, whoa, I have to work on this. This is going to be really good. The last thing I'll say that's really helping me is that when I got rid of my AirPods, right, and I had to sort of exist in the moment, I got bored really fast. And so my brain was like searching for something to replace the AirPods. And I have had to learn to reevaluate my relationship with boredom. I used to sort of be afraid of boredom. I felt like I was wasting my time when I was bored. I could be learning, I could be doing. I felt like almost like a panic, like, oh my gosh, I'm having an existential moment because I should be doing something. But I have recently tried to reassess that relationship with boredom, and I've learned that boredom is actually a friend. Just like my journal here, just like my notebook, this is not a perfect place of keeping thoughts. It's simply a conversational friend to have questions with, right? Boredom is the same thing. When boredom arrives now, I'm trying to see it as a good thing of like, okay, here's that boredom thing. I'm going to allow myself to be in it and to let my brain sort of settle down and calm down. And I'm now going to choose what it is that I'm going to think about. I'm going to be in control of my thoughts for a few minutes because there's nothing else to do. I'm bored. Case in point, my family and I had a big road trip a few days ago. It was not big. It was like a 3-hour drive there and a 3-hour drive back. I could have bought the AirPod case before that. I really wanted to so I could listen to a book on tape and like pass that time as I'm driving. Because my family, they're all in the car, they're drawn, they're listening to books or whatever, right? My wife's over here doing her thing on her phone or what have you. I wanted some entertainment too, and so I felt very justified in thinking, okay, I'm gonna break my little fast with the AirPods and go buy them. But I chose not to. I stayed strong, you guys. I chose not to, and I said, I'm just going to drive. I'm just going to be there in the car, looking at the road, and I'm going to be with my thoughts. It was really hard at first. For the first 20, 30 minutes, I thought this was the wrong decision. I should have got the AirPods. I should have done that. But about 30 minutes in, I sort of settled into the boredom of driving, and I began to think about the classes I've been taking. I've been taking a study in Shakespeare class. I've been taking my philosophy of Western religion class. And of course, I've been learning the French language. I'm running a book club. I got a lot of things happening in my life right now. And as I started to drive and think about what was important to me, the funny thing is I was able to sort of focus in on what matters. And so just to recap for you all, I think there's a couple things that we could probably do to improve our focus. And we intuitively know what those things are, right? It's not going to be stuff that is full of lots of entertainment and flashing lights and fun music and all of that stuff. We can blame the internet for lots of our focus problems, and it is part of the problem. But the other part of the problem is us being willing to engage in that, in turning away from paper and pen and writing out our thoughts, or in turning away from reading something hard and challenging and just sort of consuming the easy stuff. We're choosing to let our lives and our brains be sort of enamored with stuff that doesn't matter. So let's give our brains at least one big project this year that matters. So for you right now, I'd love to challenge you to just leave me a comment down below if you found this video helpful, and let me know what you would like to tackle this year. Is there a specific book that you've been putting off that you want to read? Is there a new skill that you want to learn that you're really passionate about? Are you going to treat your journals in a new way? Are you interested in doing the AirPod fast and just sort of embracing silence and boredom? I'd love to know which of these tips you think might be helpful to you. And until next time, as always, remember to read slowly, take notes, and apply the ideas. Thanks, everybody.